Guys, welcome back to my series where we build gaming PCs with the best price performance for specific price categories. And today we will see what we can do with just about $400. Now we break this video down into two parts. First, we're gonna go over all the parts and why we picked them, and then we will test multiple games to see how well this gaming PC actually does. But now let's dive directly into the parts for our $400 gaming PC build. The first part I want to talk about is the CPU. And guys, I have to say the last few months have been hard for us PC enthusiasts. Prices for hardware parts have gone up and up while many parts haven't even been available at all. And I think this is especially true for CPUs. However, there's one CPU that has dodged all that, and that's the Ryzen 3 3200G. This CPU is still available and selling for just $99. Now back in January, the Ryzen 5 series was completely underpriced, with the Ryzen 5 1600 leading at just $85. But right now it seems like it's the complete opposite, with the Ryzen 5 series increasing in price while the Ryzen 3 series has been pretty stable. And so times have changed, and whenever we think about which CPU we should put into our gaming PC, we definitely have to look out for those Ryzen 3 processors. And right now the Ryzen 3 3200G might be the most cost efficient CPU in a low budget segment, because even though it costs only $99, it has no less than 4 GHz boost clock and 4 cores. And guys, I actually still can't believe that we are at a point nowadays where we can get extremely strong quad cores for just about $100. These kinds of CPUs are also at a point where we don't have to worry about being bottlenecked by them. 4 cores with almost 4 GHz per core are good enough to play even the newest games at very high FPS, especially esports titles that generally don't need a lot of resources. And so even though the Ryzen 3 3200G does have an integrated GPU that we don't even want to use, with $99 we get a price that is just unbeatable even when you compare it to other cheap Ryzen 3 processors like the Ryzen 3 3100. And because this one is clearly underpriced at the moment, I think this is the best CPU that we can currently put into our $400 gaming PC. Now, as you know, the most important part of any gaming PC is the graphics card. And here it's getting really interesting, because with $400 we have such a limited budget that all the usual suspects are out of reach. However, one of the few GPUs that is in reach, and that is also one of the most cost efficient ones, is the Nvidia GT 1030. The GT 1030 is the cheapest graphics card out of the GeForce 10 series. It was released in 2017 and it costs only just about $80. With 384 CUDA cores, a boost clock of 1506 MHz and 2 GB of GDDR5 memory, we are getting a nice tiny graphics card that is capable of playing games at 1080p. Of course, even though the boost clock is exceptionally high for the price that we are paying, the lower amount of CUDA cores in VRAM will definitely hold us back a little bit. So it should be clear that what we are getting here is an entry graphics card that is intended to be replaced by something stronger at some point in the future. Still, I was very surprised about how good this graphics card performed, especially at esports titles. But how good exactly, we will find out later in this video. Nevertheless, I think the GT 1030 is a solid graphics card that is great for our $400 gaming PC. Now that we have our CPU and GPU, we have to decide which RAM we want to include into our build. And here I recommend 8 GB of RAM from Corsair with 2933 MHz. Games are in general not very demanding when it comes to RAM, and 8 GB are a solid baseline for any budget gaming PC. Personally, I would buy it in the form of one 8 GB RAM block, just because the speed increase of having two 4 GB RAM blocks in dual channel mode is very tiny, while one 8 GB RAM block is great for reusability and upgradability in the future. Adding another 8 GB RAM block is also very easy to do in case you need it. When it comes to the frequency of the RAM, we have to look at what our CPU actually needs. The Ryzen 3 3200G is rated for a maximum of 2933 MHz, and so that's what we're going for. Knowing what CPU, GPU and RAM we want, we can now jump to the motherboard. And here I recommend the MSI B450M Pro VDH Max. Motherboards in general can vary greatly in price. Some even cost up to $1,000. So in order to decide how much we should spend, we first have to understand what it actually needs. And the most important things that we have to look out for is the CPU support, the GPU support and all the supported frequencies. And when we look into the specification of the B450M Pro VDH Max, we can see that it has an AM4 socket that supports Ryzen processors. It also supports memory speeds of up to 3866 MHz in case we use a Ryzen Ryzen processor of the 3rd generation, and it has a PCI Express slot that's perfect for our GPU. Obviously, there are many other small things that are important when choosing the right motherboard, but another really important one is of course price. And here the MSI B450M Pro VDH Max is an absolute killer. With just about $80, it's one of the cheapest motherboards that we can buy. And given what we get here, I think that this motherboard is the perfect fit for our $400 gaming PC build. For the SSD, we use the PNY CS900 with 240GB. As you know, I recommend this SSD in all my budget gaming PC builds because it's very solid and at the same time extremely cheap. And starting out with a small SSD is almost always a good idea because there might be users that don't need a lot of storage in the first place, or if you need more storage at some point in the future, you can easily buy an additional SSD or HDD later. The power supply I used in this build is the CV450 from Corsair. It's one of the cheapest power supplies that I still like quite a lot. It has all the protection circuits that we need, it is bronze certified, which means that it's efficient, which saves us money in the long run, and it's really cheap compared to other power supplies with the same specs. And for the case, we use the Aerocool Silent because it is one of the cases with the best value for money. It offers enough space for all components and also comes with a pre-installed fan which provides enough airflow for the efficient components. In addition, it provides great cable management, 3 USB ports on the top side, and an awesome design. Of course, you can find the links to all the parts I mentioned in the description of the video. And of course, you can find this build and the builds for all other price categories on my homepage. There I'm updating all the builds regularly, so if you watch this video a few months from now, then you can always go there and you will find all the latest builds with the guaranteed best value for money. By the way, before we dive into the game tests, I would love if you gave this video a thumbs up because it helps out my channel quite a lot. And it also helps me to continue making these videos. Also, if you like this video series in general, you can always subscribe to my channel and click the bell so that you don't miss out on future videos. But now let's jump into the game tests. I tested this gaming PC in the games League of Legends, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Witcher 3, Path of Exile, Valorant, Subnautica and Red Dead Redemption 2. So I hope you enjoy the game tests.
We collide, we break down, caving in to our doubts, faces filled with sadness. When words are said, we'll regret. I can see the fire that we made just to save us. When we try to make up for never letting go, said the things we promised not to say, then we break up just to start all over, even though we know this is the hard way better. We can't be heartache together. This is the hard way better. We can't be heartache together. This is the hard way better. We can't be heartache together. This is the hard way Let's go back, let's start again, to a place a long time ago when I kissed your lips. I can see the fire that we made just to save us. When we try to make up for never letting go, said the things we promised not to say, then we break up just to start all over, even though we know this is the hard way better. We can't be heartache together. This is the hard way better. We can't be heartache together.
so boring. I got up, went to work just to get back home and repeat. Before you, I just felt nothing. I didn't dare to take risks. Now we be staying up all night. We don't have to sleep cause we're crazy in love, yeah. Oh, even if we start to fight, we know we can work it out, baby. Ooh, you make me wanna shout out the top of my lungs. You make me wanna jump when you tell me to jump. You make me wanna love like I'm 20 years young. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid. You make me wanna run like a kid with the kite. You make me wanna die from a cliff way too high. You make me wanna go where there's nowhere to hide. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid. I used to be a big quitter. I couldn't take a leap even if I knew that I should. It made me lonely and bitter, but that was all before you. Now we be staying up all night. We don't have to sleep cause we're crazy in love. Oh, even if we start to fight, we know we can work it out, baby. Ooh, you make me wanna shout out the top of my lungs. You make me wanna jump when you tell me to jump. You make me wanna love like I'm 20 years young. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid. You make me wanna run, 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 You make me wanna shout out the top of my lungs. You make me wanna jump when you tell me to jump. You make me wanna love like I'm 20 years young. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid. You make me wanna run like a kid with the kite. You make me wanna die from a cliff way too high. You make me wanna go where there's nowhere to hide. With you I'm not the same, with you I'm not afraid.
Now these were all the game tests, so overall I would say that this build is definitely capable at esports titles, especially as you're most likely going to be turning those texture settings down for those crispy FPS games. But if gaming at ultra settings is more your thing, then I would recommend investing a little bit more money into your gaming PC. In that case, I would recommend watching my $500 gaming PC video, because the PC I'm recommending there is one of those few budget gaming PCs that can actually play AAA games at very high settings. I will leave the link to that video also in the description. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video very helpful. If you do so, you can always leave a like to show some support. And of course, if you're new to this channel, you can also subscribe so that you can always easily find some great gaming PC builds that are optimized for gaming performance and price.
We collide, we break down, caving in to our doubt.